the virtue of at-Tawheed and what it will expiate from one's evil deeds if he falls under that category. And then in this third chapter we see that the one who actualizes in totality and completely the meaning of at-Tawheed that was mentioned in the first chapter, that he will enter into paradise without any reckoning. And this will be made clear, the importance of how to gauge one's actualization and reality of his implementation and his understanding of at-Tawheed, as we will see in this chapter. So before we go in to the actual chapter and taking the first proof, here we would like to mention what Shaykh Saalih al-Fawzan, Hafidhahullah, mentions in regards to the connection of this chapter to the two previous chapters. And then likewise, some of the benefits in dealing with the first ayat, in which Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul-Waahid brings to establish the understanding of this tremendous actualization of at-Tawheed. So here the Shaykh Hafidhahullah, he mentions the connection that verily when the author mentions the aspect of at-Tawheed and its virtue, it is appropriate to mention the reality of it, because you will not receive the complete virtue of something until you actualize it in totality. So here, understanding that without a doubt, one who comes to the conclusion that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then he practices that, he believes that, he implements that till his death, and he dies upon that. But from that point up until his death, he fell short. That he may have fell into error, he may have fell into sin, he may have fell into some things that did not negate that belief or that action of that individual. But yet here he will come Yawm al-Qiyamah, and that he will have his Tawheed to expiate from those sins. And this is the virtue of a Tawheed in general. But now one who wants to achieve the actual, pinnacle of that purpose of a Tawheed, then this is the things that he must establish within himself in order to enter into Jannah, which is the ultimate goal at the end of the day, without any reckoning, meaning that he will not be judged, he will not be dealt with, he will enter into Jannah immediately, as we will come to see within the explanation. So here, with this first ayat, inshallah we will read the chapter, the introduction of the chapter, then going into the ayat. So here the Shaykh Hafidhahullah, he mentions, هذا هو Shaykh Saalih al-Fawzan Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul-Waahid, he mentions باب من حقق التوحيد دخل الجنة بغير حساب. So whoever actualizes a Tawheed, that he will enter into Jannah without any account. So here Shaykh Saalih al-Fawzan Hafidhahullah, he says هذا هو الباب الثالث من أبواب هذا الكتاب المبارك. So he says this is the third chapter from the chapters of this blessed book, Kitab at-Tawheed. And that is the chapter of whoever actualizes the Tawheed will enter into Jannah without any reckoning. لما ذكر الشيخ, so when the Shaykh rahimahullah mentions the first chapter, and that is the meaning of at-Tawheed and its reality from the book and the Sunnah, not from the speech of mankind. الَّذِينَ يُؤَلَّفُونَ فِي الْأَقَائِدِ, those who author particular books in the aspect of belief. وَكُلُّ يُفَسِّرَ التَّوْحِيدَ عَلَى حَسَبَ مَذْهَبِهِ, and they all interpretate a Tawheed in accordance to their methodology. From the Mu'tazila, from the Asha'ira, from the ulama al-kalam, the rhetoric, the scholars of rhetoric. As for the Shaykh rahimahullah, he interprets a Tawheed from the book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with verses and narrations that are authentic on the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So here we saw Kitab at-Tawheed. Then what is a Tawheed? وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. وما أمروا أن الله تعالى لقد بعث في كل أمة رسولا أن يعبدوا الله واجتنبوا الطاغوت وقضى ربك ألا يعبدوا إلا إياه. And similar in those ayats in dealing with in regards to what is a Tawheed. Tawheed is worship to Allah alone with no partner, and to negate worship to any false deity that is worshipped along with Allah. Not what the people of rhetoric might say, or what the people of misguidance might say, or whatever is interpreted to mean a Tawheed from those particular madhahib. So then in the second chapter, he mentions the virtue of a Tawheed. So the one who establishes this, worship to Allah alone and negating all forms of worship to false deities. الذي جاء به الكتاب والسنة وما يكفر من ذنوب ثم جاء هذا الباب الثالث. And that what it expiates from sin, then he comes with this third chapter, and that is the reality or the actualization of this Tawheed, that he will enter into Jannah without any reckoning. He will enter into Jannah without any reckoning nor any punishment. So this chapter, Bab al-Fadl Tawheed wa Bab man haqqaqa Tawheed. What is the difference between the two? So now, they both carry somewhat of a similar meaning and understanding. So the virtue of it is if one applies it, that he will be expiated for his sin. But now the one who actualizes, you see that it's kind of like a notch up. So the one who comes and discovers what Tawheed is, and he implements it, and he acts upon it, but yet he falls short, that he might fall short in regards to some of the commands and staying away from the prohibitions. If he remains upon a Tawheed, that he will be expiated for those sins. Those sins will be expiated because of that Tawheed. But now, the one who actualizes it, the one who fulfills it in its totality, that this individual, that he will be directly put in or directly entered in to the paradise without any reckoning or without any punishment. So here the Shaykh, he says, فَضَّ التَّوْحِيدِ فِي حَقَّ مُوَاحِدٍ الَّذِي لَيْسَ عِنْدَهُ شِرْك وَلَكِنْ قَدْ يَكُونْ عِنْدَهُ بَعْدَ الْمَعَاصِي التي تكفر بالتوحيد. So here the virtue of a Tawheed in the right of the Muwahid, for the one that does not associate any partner with Allah in worship, but he has some disobedience, he falls short, that Tawheed will expiate those sins, that they will remove those sins in the hereafter. As for this chapter, it is above and more loftier than the chapter that preceded it. Man haqqaqa, the one who actualizes a Tawheed, meaning أنه لم يشرك بالله شيئا, he does not associate partners with Allah at all in anything. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ عِنْدَهُ شَيْءٍ مِنَ الْمَعَاصِي, and he has no acts of disobedience. هذا تحقيق التوحيد, this is actualizing a Tawheed. وَمَنْ بَلَغَ هذه مرتبة دخل الجنة بلا حساب, and that whoever achieves this level, he will enter into Jannah without any reckoning. So we see that the one who does not do any shirk, he does not do any shirk, and this is for both categories. And then, but the one that is above, the one that is a station above, that verily he stays away from all acts of disobedience and all acts of sins and the likes of this, that this individual has reached the level where he will enter into Jannah without any reckoning. As for the one that is on the level before it, that he is a muwahid, alladhi indahu dhunub, that he has sins, فهذا قد يغفر له وقد يعذب بالنار ثم يخرج منها لأن موحد على طبقتين. So here Allah could forgive him and he could be punished with the hellfire. Then he will be removed from it. So here we see that the one who establishes at-Tawheed are of two types, or two categories, or two levels. So the first one being that they do not do shirk, that they are free from shirk, but they are not free from falling into some sins. That is less than shirk, but they are oppressing themselves by falling into sin and error and the likes of this. So here they are safe or secure from being subjected everlasting in the hellfire, in the punishment. But they are not safe and secure from possibly being subjected to a temporary punishment for that sin or for that transgression in which they have done. So this is your first level. Your second level, التي سلمت من شرك الأكبر وأصغر من بدعة ومن معاصي واجتهدت في طاعة وهؤلاء هم سابقون بالخيرات. So those that are safe and secure or free from shirk, the major and the minor, and from evil innovation, from disobedience, and they have due diligence in obedience, these are the ones that are sabiquna bil khairat. They are the foremost in khairat. And that whoever reaches this level, that he will enter into Jannah without any hisab wala adab. And this will become clear throughout these proofs and evidences what Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul-Waahid brings. So here the first ayat what Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul-Waahid he brings, where he brings the statement of Allah, Inna Ibrahim kana ummatun qa'inatan lillah hanifan wa lam yakun min al-mushrikeen. So here, this is Surah Al-Nahl. So here Allah Ta'ala has described Ibrahim with 4 descriptions that we want to highlight because we will go through them in detail in the explanation. That he was first description, that he was an excellent example. Inna Ibrahim kana ummatun that's the first description. Inna Ibrahim kana ummatun. Sit. And ummah is that what they interpretate as we see as a good example, a imam, a leader to that which is good. And this is in order to complete the station of patience and certainty, which is a requirement to be a leader. So for one to be a leader, he must have patience and certainty. And this is what Ibrahim has achieved. The second description, that he was qanitan. So he was fearful and obedient, and he was consistent in the worship of Allah. And that is the shahid of that, being consistent. That he was upon dawam, upon that of being dutiful and obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the third and the fourth are one in that he removed himself from shirk, hanifan. So the removal of shirk. And with that, the advancement to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Moving forward to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So hanifan, for one who is hanif, he must remove shirk and be free from the aspects and categories of shirk. And at the same time, he must advance to Allah tabarak wa ta'ala with obedience. And then the fourth one is that he distanced himself from the polytheists, from the people of shirk. وَلَمْ يَكُوا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. So these four descriptions are a must for an individual who is striving to actualize at-Tawheed. So what are some of the highlighting points of this ayah in the Ibrahim that's in Surah Al-Nahl? Firstly, the virtue of Ibrahim, for these tremendous descriptions that he possessed. Number two, to follow him in these descriptions. To follow him, so to be a leader to good, to direct oneself and his family and the likes of that to good, to be upon patience, to be upon certainty. All of these things are qualities of leadership. Likewise, to be consistent in acts of worship, to be consistent in being dutiful and fearful to Allah, to remove oneself, to purify oneself from shirk and to advance to Allah, and then likewise to remove oneself and disassociate from the people of shirk. Number three, clarity of the description of the one who completes at-Tawheed. And the completion, it lies where? In that of disassociating and purifying oneself from shirk, as we will come to see. The next one, the obligation to remove oneself from shirk and its people. And then also the description of the believers who actualize at-Tawheed. So here we want to go into the explanation of what the Shaykh Hafidhullah, and we will kind of summarize the first portions of it to the portion of dealing with the sifa, or the descriptions. So here he mentions that of during the time of Ibrahim, that he came across oppressive leaders and people who were worshipping planets and the likes of this, to the point that he made hijrah with his family from Iraq to Sham, where he left his family, one of his families in Sham, and then proceeded to that of Mecca. So Ishaq was left in Sham, and then he took Sarah and Ismail to that of Mecca, where they established the Kaaba and the likes of that. So then he goes into the descriptions. وَكُلَّهَا مِنَ تَحْقِيقَ التَّوْحِيدِ. All of them are from the actualization of a Tawheed. Firstly, كَانَ أُمَّةً, that he was, for literal terms, a nation. And the ummah in this instance is a qudwa fi khayr, an example in good. He was an example in good. فَهُوَ إِمَامٌ لِلنَّاسِ. He was a leader for the people. Just as Allah Ta'ala says, وَإِذَا ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبِّهِ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ قال إني جاعلك للناس إماما. That verily we tested Ibrahim with some words, or his Lord tested him with some words, so he completed them. So he said, verily I am making you a leader for the people. Meaning not of an example for his family, to all that is good, إلى أن تقوم الساعة, till the establishment of the hour. So قوله ummah, meaning he is an imam wa qudwa, that he is an imam, a leader and an example. So this is our first description. One who is actualizing at-Tawheed from the previous chapters, that he is an example and a leader. So then he goes in and mentions that ummah can be used in three circumstances in the Quran. One of them being a qudwa, just as in this ayat. One of them being a scale of time. Al-miqdar min al-zaman. Where Allah says, وَقَالَ الَّذِي نَجَا مِنْهُمَا وَالدَّارَكْ بَعْدَ الْأُمَّةِ, أي بعد الزمن, after a time. That you will meet them after a time. And that also a ummah could be meaning that of a jama'ah. That it could be meaning that of a group. Where Allah Ta'ala says, وَهَذَا أُمَّتَكُمْ أُمَّةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ. And that this nation is one nation, or that of a group. And that is because the deen of Islam is a deen of jama'ah, togetherness. And it is not a religion of division and differing. For verily there is no فَلَيْسَ فِيهِ, so it is not present within it differencing, or tafarruq, واحتزاب, وأحزاب, وجماعات, وجمعيات, متفرقة. So there is no separation or groups. أحزاب, وجماعات, وجمعيات. Political groups and the likes of this, that are division. Where Allah says, وَلَا تَكُنْ كَالَّذِي تَفَرَّقُوا وَاخْتَلَفُوا مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَهُمْ بَيِّنَاتٌ وَأُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. Do not be like those who separated and differed after the clarity has come to them, for they will have a painful punishment. So then he says that it is upon the believers to be upon one nation, upon one methodology, upon one deen. وَعَلَى مِلَّةَ وَاحِدٍ, one religion, such as a bunyan marsus, a well solidified structure. يُشَدِّدْ بَعْضُهُ بَعْضًا, that they support one another, and the likes of this. And he mentions all of those particular things. So here we see that this carries the meaning. But what is the meaning in this ayat and the intent? That of leadership and an example, being an example. That Ibrahim was not one, like for instance, a lot of Ibrahims, nor was Ibrahim like a distance, or like a measurement of time or place. That here Ibrahim was an example and an imam in this ayat, and you referring to in this ayat. So then he mentions also in the ayah, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَرَّقُوا دِينَهُمْ وَكَانُوا شِيَعًا لَسْتَ مِنْهُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ إِنَّمَا أَمْرُهُمْ إِلَى اللَّهِ ثُمَّ يُنَبِّئُهُمْ بِمَا كَانُوا يَفْعَلُونَ. That verily those who divide or separate or cause their religion to be in groups, and that they were groups themselves, you have nothing to do with them, that their affair is with Allah, and then He will inform them of what they used to do. That the Shaykh Hafidhullah, he says, Naam, قد يوجد اختلاف, that you might find differencing. ولكن اختلاف يحسم بالرجوع إلى كتاب الله وسنة رسوله. But here the difference in it forces to return back to the book of Allah and the sunnah of the Messenger ﷺ. So the one who is in error can return, and the one that is correct, he can be fixated, he can be firm. Just as Allah Ta'ala says, فَإِذَا تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرُدُّهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ إِن كُنتُمْ تُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ ذَلِكَ خَيْرٌ وَأَحْسَنُ تَأْوِيلًا. So here it's that of dealing with the example in the unity within a nation. So the second description which Allah Ta'ala has given and described Ibrahim with was قَانِتًا لِلَّهِ. So qanut fil lugha ma'nahu al-thabut wal-dawam. To be fixated and to be continuous, everlasting like. Ay dawam wa-thabat dawaman wa-thabitan ala ta'atillah, upon the obedience of Allah, and they are not shaken from that or off of that. And then likewise it also can be used for a long standing period in the prayer. Al-Qunut ala tulas qiyam fi salat. Just as Allah Ta'ala says, Hafidhu ala salawat wa salati usta wa qumu lillahi qanitin. And likewise Allah Ta'ala says, Aman huwa qanitan ana al-layl sajidan wa qa'iman يحذر الآخرة ويرجو رحمة ربه. So he says, is the one who is standing in the night in a long period, for a long period, prostrating and standing, being aware or being cautious of the hereafter and hoping for the mercy of his Lord. So here, qanitan, that he is the one who stands in the middle of the night for a long period and prostrating for a long period. So there usage of the word to show a long period of stance in prayer. So the meaning of that which Allah Ta'ala has described Ibrahim with, بِأَنَّهُ كَانَ قَانِتًا أي أَنَّهُ كَانَ مُدَاوَمًا عَلَى طَاعَةِ اللَّهِ, that he was continuous on the obedience of Allah and are fixated upon that, contrary to the one يجتهد أول يوم أو أول شهر أو سنة ثم بعد ذلك يتراجع انتكاسا بدأ بخير لكنه لم يكمل. So here it's like contrary to the one that works hard in the beginning of the day or month or year, then after that he returns back to laziness after he began upon something good but he did not complete it. So what is requested from mankind is that they fixate themselves upon being continuous in good, meaning أنه يلازم عمل الخير, that he restricts himself with actions of good. And he does not become yatakhalla an, he does not leave them or move away from them, even if it is something only a little bit. For verily the Prophet ﷺ, ahabba amal ilallah adwamahu wa in qalla, that the most beloved action to Allah is the one that is continuous, even if it is a little. So qanitan lillah, meaning أنه يعمل هذا مخلصا لله, that he did this action sincerely for Allah. So here is the removal of what? We see that this is the negation of shirk asghar, that he, and the shirk akbar will be in the latter portion of this ayat, but here we see that the one who actualizes at-Tawheed, that makes it where he will enter into Jannah, that he removes himself from what? Shirk, all of it, akbar wa asghar. So qanitan lillah, that he is a mukhlis, that his intent is not to show off or to be heard. Wa yu'khadh min hadha ikhlas. So what is taken and derived from this is sincerity, because some people that verily they pray and they beautify their prayer, or they make it long, or they make their bowing in order to be seen by the people. Wa idha ahassa, and if he feels that somebody is there or with him, that he will elongate his bowing and his prostration in order to be described that he is a person of obedience. وَإِذَا صَلَّى وَحْدَهُ نَقَرَ الصَّلَاةِ. And if he prays by himself, he makes it quick. Naqar, like he pecks at it. Boom, 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 real fast. And likewise, and nowadays we want to kind of, bring something in which we see. And that is like, for instance, brothers who come to the masajid. They come, mashallah, kufi, white thobe, beard, and this and that. But when they leave, what happened to all that? What happens to all of that, mashallah. And likewise with sisters. That verily you come to the masajid in an appearance that is, mashallah, lovely. But then when you leave the masajid, you abandon all of that. So why are you coming to the masajid? Are you coming to be seen? Or to be said that, mashallah, that's a good sister and that's a good brother? Or are you coming to the masajid for what it's for? To worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely. So here, qanitan, one of the descriptions is that he does it not to be seen or not to be heard. Because prayer, some of us can't even extend our prayer. Some of us cannot even if we wanted to and desired to say, okay, somebody's here, I'm going to beautify my prayer. Some of us cannot even do that. But what we can do, we can put on the newest sneaker, get the newest stove, get the sharpest kufi, and get the best ithr and all of these things and come to the masjid and mashallah. Look at the brother. Look how obedient he is. Look how this and this he is. But then when he leaves here, all of that is removed, except for maybe his sneaker. So here we see and we look that why are you coming to the masajid in this state? And then when you leave here, you go back to your skinny jeans and your tight shirts and your foul language and all those extra things that are not in accordance to Islam. The same way that you come to the masjid, be outside of the masjid. Be away from the masjid. Here they're scared to look at sisters. They lower their gaze and walk quickly by them. But when they're out in the public, they're bumping shoulders with them, laughing and giggling with them and the likes of this. That what are you doing this action for? What is this action for? And this is for what? This is the understanding and the establishment of qanitan lillah. You don't come here just to be seen. You don't come here just to be, okay, yeah, mashallah. You come here sincerely to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you maintain that when you leave from here. So ikhlas, because why? This is for one who actualizes at-Tawheed. This is for one who is desiring to enter into Jannah without any reckoning. So ikhlas, أن الإنسان يقصد بعمله وجه الله. Ikhlas is that he does an action for the purpose of the face of Allah. Not for al-tam'an min al-multami' ad-dunya. Not for something of the luxuries of the dunya, or praise, or a thana, extra praise from the creation, and not to be heard. وَلَا يَسْتَمِعْ إِلَى لَوْمِهِ إِذَا لَامَ. And not to be, blamed or something of this nature. قَالُوا فَلَانْ مُتَشَدِّدْ. That so-and-so is harsh. فَلَانْ كَذَا. That so-and-so is this. ما دام أنه على طريق الصحيح, as long as he is upon the straight way and the correct path and upon the sunnah, that no harm will come to him. ولا تؤخذه في الله لومة اللائم. And he does not care about the blame of the blamers. So the third description is hanifan. وحنيف من حنفة وهو في اللغة ميل. To lean. To lean towards something. وَمَرَادْ بِهِ إِقْبَالَ عَلَى اللَّهِ, to advance to Allah. وَأَنَّهُ مُعْرِضُ عَنِ النَّاسِ مُقْبِلًا عَلى اللَّهِ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى يَطْلُبْ خَيْرٍ مِنَ اللَّهِ وَلَا يَطْلُبْ خَيْرٍ مِنَ النَّاسِ. So here it's that he is advancing to Allah and turning away from what the people have, or from the people. So he is advancing to Allah Ta'ala, seeking the good from Allah and not seeking the good from the people. And he is not searching for it from the people, but he is only searching for it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So then the fourth and final, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. And this is the shahid. So this is the shahid of the one who is actualizing at-Tawheed. وَهَذَا مَحَالَ الشَّاهِدِ مِنْ بَابٍ. From this chapter. أَنَّهُ تَبَرَّعَ مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. That he frees himself and disassociates himself from the polytheists. البراءة التامة, completely. أي قطع ما بينه وبين المشركين من مودة من أجل الله سبحانه وتعالى لأنهم أعداء لله والمؤمن لا يحب أعداء الله. So he severs that which is between him and the polytheists from love for Allah, min ajl, for the purpose of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So why, get in here. So why is he severing these ties? Why is he separating himself and disassociating himself? It's not because he was mean, because he was nasty, or because he's ugly, or because he's poor. It's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is it. Min ajlillah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because they are the enemies to Allah, and the believer does not love the enemies to Allah. And this will become a little bit more clear and a little bit more detailed in dealing with what is appropriate of severing from the love and that which is permissible. So here he says, فَإِبْرَاهِيمَ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامُ لَمْ يَكُنْ مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ لَا بِقَلِيلٍ وَلَا بِكَثِيرٍ. So Ibrahim was not with the polytheists a little or a lot. He was absolutely free and disassociated from not only the actions of the polytheists, but also them themselves. So he severed all connections of love between him and them. As for the silla ta'amil, of interaction, of working with, and the likes of this, in the aspects of the dunya, from that which is a benefit and that which is permissible. هذا شيء آخر. This is something completely different. وإنما مراد قطع السلة سلة محبة وموالة ومناصرة. That of love and allegiance and aid and support. This is the meaning of that. So not meaning that you sever those particular ties of dealing with that, but you are severing the ties of muwala wa munasara. And this is what is requested. هذا هو مطلوب. This is what is required. As for aiding one another in the aspects of the dunya, in that which there is a benefit for the Muslims, this is something different, and it is okay to do. And this becomes clear in the statement in a different ayat, that قَدْ كَانَتْ لَكُمْ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ فِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَالَّذِينَ مَعَهُ. So here we see the obligation of following Ibrahim and those who were with him. That verily there is a good example in Ibrahim and those who were with him. What was that? That when he said to his people, إِذْ قَالُوا لِقَوْمِهِمْ إِنَّ بَرَاءٌ مِّنْكُمْ وَمِمَّا تَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ كَفَرْنَا بِكُمْ وَبَدَأَ بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمْ عَدَاوَةً وَبَغْضَاءَ أَبَدًا حَتَّى تُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَحْدَهُ. So here we see that what was that good example. So here we have to focus on this, especially in this society, in this environment. That what was this good example that we should follow Ibrahim in, and those who were believing with him or those who were following him, that when he said to his people that I am free from you and that which you worship along with Allah. So here is that disassociation. What is that disassociation? That muwala, that allegiance to them, and also the aid to them of that over that of Islam, or bringing the destruction of Islam. And not only from you, but also from that which you worship along with Allah. We disbelieved in him. And that verily from this point is the beginning between us and you, enmity and hatred forever, until you worship Allah alone with no partner. أي لا تقارب بيننا وبينكم في مودة ومناصرة ومؤاخى أبدا إلا إذا آمنتم بالله وحده وكفرتم بما يعبد من دون الله عز وجل. And so you worship and believe in Allah alone, and you disbelieve in that which is worshipped along with Allah Azza wa Jal, from those partners. And that you abandon the worship of asnam, those idols. And that at this point, that we will be brothers. حَتَّى تُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَحْدَهُ. Then he said in an ayat after it, that verily لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِيهِمْ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَيَوْمَ الْآخِرِ وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ غَنِيٌّ حَمِيدٌ. So that verily this is a good example for them, for you in them, for those who desire Allah and the hereafter, وَيَوْمَ الْآخِرِ, and whoever turns away, that verily Allah is Ghaniyun Hamid. So we see that this is the example of all of this intertwining and mixing in together. So briefly, here the Shaykh summarizes these 4 descriptions, that one must beautify himself in order to establish being from those who are actualizing at-Tawheed. And we mentioned them, but just to mention them here briefly real quick. Number 1, that he was a ummah, meaning a qudwa fi khayr. He's a good example. He was a leader to that which is good. So ask ourselves, what are we leading the people to? What are we calling the people to? What example are we setting to our families, to our communities, to our neighbors, and the likes of these things? If we cannot say that we are calling these people to good or directing them to that which is good, then we are not from that first description. Number 2, أَنَّهُ كَانَ قَانِتًا لِلَّهِ, that he was continuous in this being obedient to Allah. He was continuous upon the obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not Monday he was obedient, Tuesday he was not, Wednesday he, in the beginning of the day he was, and in the evening he wasn't. No, he was continuous his whole life up until he met Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أَنَّهُ كَانَ حَنِيفًا. What was this? That he was turning away from all aspects of shirk, and he was advancing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the shahid, أَنَّهُ لَمْ يَكُونْ مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ, that he was not from the polytheists, that he was disassociating himself from every aspect of polytheism. So Shaykh Hafidhullah, he goes, and inshallah we will stop right here. وَهَذَا هُوَ تَحْقِيقَ التَّوْحِيدِ بِهَذِهِ الْأُمُورِ. So this is actualizing a tawheed with these affairs. And the greatest of them is bara min al-mushrikeen, disassociation from the polytheists. So whoever disassociates from them, that he has actualized the tawheed. So see now, what is the Shaykh doing here? He's showing, okay, tawheed, worship Allah alone with no partner. But what many people fail to realize and forget and are neglectful of is what? The second part. And that is refraining and disassociating and negating all acts of worship to those false deities. Not only those false deities, but those individuals who also worship, or those polytheists that worship those partners along with Allah. Even if they are the most closest in relation to them. فَإِبْرَاهِيمْ تَبَرَّأَ مِنْ أَبِيهِ. So Ibrahim, he freed himself from his father. So he mentions those ayahs, وَذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ إِبْرَاهِيمْ إذ قال لأبيه يا أبتي لما تعبد ما لا يسمع ولا يبصر ولا يغني عنك شيئا. And those ayats in Surah Maryam, in dealing with that, Ibrahim calling his father to that worship of Allah. Why are you worshiping that which does not see or hear and cannot help you in any way, shape, or form? So here we see the many different, in closing of dealing with that this was the position of Ibrahim. That not only did he call to that of the establishment of a tawheed, but he also called to that of disassociating from the mushriks, the polytheists, and the disbelievers. So here he closes out the Shaykh. وَيَوْمَ الْجَمَاعَةِ يَدَّعُونَ أَنَّهُمْ دُعَاء إِلَى اللَّهِ لَا يَتَبَرَّؤُونَ مِنْ مُشْرِكِينَ مَا دَامُوا عَلَى مِنْهَجِهِمْ الْحِزْبِيِّ. So here he says, in this day we find that the many different groups are claiming that they are callers to Allah, but they do not free and disassociate themselves from the polytheists. And as long as they remain upon this partnership of methodology, the methodology of that, which is that of partnership, a hizbiyah. So it is obligatory upon the Muslim to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to be dutiful to Him. وَإِذَا كَانَ يُرِيدُ أَنْ يَدْعِي إِلَى اللَّهِ. And if he wants to invite to Allah, then let him know مَا هِيَ دَعْوَةٌ. Let him know what this invitation is, and what is the foundations of this da'wah, and what is requested from the da'i, what is requested from the caller, upon the tariq al-Ibrahim, and that of following the path of Ibrahim alayhi salam, and other than him from the prophets, الَّذِي تَبَرَّؤُوا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ وَقَاطَعُوهُمْ, and that severed the ties and relations with them. So with that, inshallah, this is the first ayat, and the shahid being وَمَا كَانَ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ, that he was not from those people who associated partners, he was not having any allegiance to them or aid to them or that legislative love for them or the likes of this, but still taking the appropriate means of dealing with transaction, buying and selling, aid and support in that of aspects which is permissible and beneficial, like scholarship and learning and the likes of this, how to be a doctor and likes, all of these being permissible in that regards. So inshallah we will stop here and close out here and continue next week inshallah with the next ayat, in that of the description of the believers, that they free themselves from or disassociate themselves from the polytheists, and this being from the main category, the main description of those who actualize at-Tawheed. Inshallah we can take it after the prayer. Ilahuna subhanaka Allahumma bihamdihi, ashhadu la ilaha illallah, astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh.